are some things they could be doing in here that would be telling you more about their tool, but not in a way that would make you feel like it's being pushy or pressuring you? I mean, do you want to hear about like their customers and what?
I think like customer success stories would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like what were they able to achieve because of TalkBase? And don't make it it's all because of TalkBase, but here's what the customer was able to do, and here's how they utilize TalkBase to do that.
Welcome to Community Dissection, where we dissect online communities to give you an inside look at community design, architecture, and evolution. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Community Dissection. I'm your host, Leever, and on this episode, we are dissecting the TalkBase Friends community. And I have two friends of TalkBase Friends community. Jenny and Tim are joining us today. Tim and Jenny, do you want to say hi and introduce yourselves briefly?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tim McDonald. I am in Tampa, Florida, and just so thrilled that I didn't know I was going to be here with Jenny, but we've been connected since the very early days of community management.
I know, Tim, what a bonus to be on a call with you and Bree today. Everyone, I'm Jenny Weigle. I run Jenny.community consulting services and happy to speak about this community today. And I realized I should have worn my Friends Giving shirt since we're talking about, the TalkBase Friends community. I do have one.
Dang it. We need to bump this all the way up. Forget whatever I had scheduled for next week. We're going to just move this episode up to be in line with the Friendsgiving theme. Just kidding. It'll probably come out in the spring, but it's Thanksgiving over here, everybody. All right, let's dive right in. To be totally honest, this is a community that I have been invited to and have wanted to explore for a long time, but just haven't taken the time to do so. So I'm kind of coming at it from the newbie perspective. Jenny is super involved. Tim is involved in this community. So I'm going to let them kind of lead what they love about the community from an insider perspective. And I'm going to be reflecting more of a new member perspective. But I right away just come to the landing page to see how you would join this community. There she is, Jenny Weigle, everyone. We got the star on live. What I like about this community is that it's niched for community operations. And TalkBase is a tool that community builders can use. And Jenny, correct me if I can get more specific about this, but TalkBase is a tool used to create landing pages for leading people into your community. And it's more like a community CRM. Do you want to expand anything on that? And just tell us your background with TalkBase a little bit so we can get that open.
Yes, yeah. I do want people to know I am officially an advisor with TalkBase and have been since the company launched. So I have regular meetings with the co-founder, Clara, with Tiffany Oda, who is their COO and head of community. So yes, I do have some deep background on what I can share on this community since I'm talking to them so often. And TalkBase is a tool that you use in conjunction with your community platform for events, analytics, operations, CRM, advocacy. There's all kinds of benefits to adding TalkBase on. They only connect with certain platforms, but there's a lot of benefit out of it. And then personally, I do use it as well with my two co-founders of the Community Pros of Los Angeles. We use TalkBase for all of our event planning.
Oh, awesome. Okay, very cool. We'll have to do another tool spotlight to understand how you use it. But it's really common for community platforms or tools to also, as a part of their business strategy, create a community for their customers or people who are maybe curious. So I'm not a TalkBase customer, but I was able to join the community. So it can function as discovery for the product, but also nurturing that relationship with your customers and empowering them in their community journey. So I think it's all very consistent. And TalkBase hosted the conference as well, right?
Yes, back in June, it was a live 2-day conference called Rebellion in Prague, which was the first time that region of the world had an in-person community event offered in a long time, many years, as far as I understand. One of the things I like about TalkBase as a company, but also with what they're doing with their community is they're not afraid to be trying new things out when it comes to events. And Rebellion is only one example of that. They recently concluded, it might have been a 15-week presentation series. I might have that number wrong, but it was 10-minute meetings, but the speaker spoke for 2 minutes. So it was like a 2-minute presentation. The remaining 8 minutes were for Q&A. But you know what, Tim, you talk a little bit about more of that because didn't you attend almost every one of them?
All but one. But and Bree, when you were talking before about what the platform and how so many tools actually create communities, I was going to chime in. I didn't want to interrupt, but one of the things I love most about this community is they're not selling you on their tool and their product. I mean, this is why I stay here, because I'm in other ones that are sponsored by or put on by the the companies, and it becomes kind of a self-promotional tool for another marketing outlet. I think they do things great, because this 2-minute presentation is a perfect example, right? Like, people don't come in and talk anything about community. It's all about what their interests are outside of what they do for work. And sometimes it's related to their work, but it's all like not community specific. So we've had tips on long distance flying, we've had scrapbooking, we've had, I can't even remember how to pronounce the name of the tea, but there's like a special ceremony of tea
right.
and the origins on it and everything. Those are the types of things that we talk about. And so it's just really a fun way to learn. And I love that the 2 minutes goes by so fast. And like Jenny said, they're 10 minutes overall. So there's about, a couple minute buffer to let people in, 2 minutes for the presentation, and then another like 5 minutes for conversation. And you feel like you're leaving there wanting more. Mm-hmm. And I wish more events were like that, because, to be honest, and you guys can speak up here, most events I'm on, I start zoning out like after the first 30 minutes of it, right? Or start getting distracted with something else going on my other screen or something if I'm not presenting, right? So it's like, they just do a great job of, putting stuff together that really is a little bit different that you're not getting from other places.
Well, it sounds like they're really willing to experiment and willing to embrace all aspects of their customer. And I think a lot of companies are like, oh, we're going to spread ourselves too thin if we talk about all these things that are outside of community or business objectives. But it sounds like Talkbase and the team there really embraces the full, wholehearted person.
And I know for a fact that they're just trying to make very unique experiences for their community members. And yes, there is a section of their community as well dedicated to their customers, but they also open up the community to a general membership of community pros, and not just limited to operations anymore, even though that kind of was the focus when they launched. But they are also open to marketing professionals joining, to social media managers joining as well. But yeah, it's that focus on the truly unique events and experiences that is something I'm looking forward to, that I get out of coming to find out what they've got planned, what they've got coming up, what the conversation entails around that. And they utilize and collaborate with their community on these things. They go to their community for the speakers and for volunteers, and so it really does feel like these things are being built with the community in mind.
I would say that from the outside, it has certainly appeared to be that way. Every time there's something happening with Talkbase, I get a little bit of FOMO if it's not in my time zone. And I loved the bit that you said there, Tim, of like, I think just as a golden rule of thumb, leave them wanting a little bit more from your event. We rush to pack it so full of value, but I think just scale it back to about 50%. And if you can like cram it in the value of in a smaller amount of time, that's how I personally travel, to be honest. I'm always like, I've done it well if I leave wanting a little bit more. If I leave being like, yeah, I'm good, I don't think I ever need to come back here again. I don't feel like I did my job fully right. So good rule to live by. Let's show them the community. And I'd love to, maybe Jenny, we can start with you and you can have me click into something that you love about the community. So I just joined. It's hosted in Slack. But Jenny, I'll let you take it away and tell me where to click.
So, I mean, I always love when a community, I love especially in a Slack community, when there is the delineation between where the host company or org can put their events and where other people can share their own events or events they've heard of. And so we see that here with, there is clearly a Talkbase events channel. So if you're wondering, what does Talkbase have coming up? And they have something coming up at the end of November, you go to that Talkbase events channel. If you are hosting an event and you want to share it, or you know of a friend or something that you're attending and you want to share that, that is better suited for the promote it section. So I always like when there is a delineation of that, especially in Slack communities. I think it's easier to do that. A little bit harder to structure that in a in a peer-to-peer community to make that very obvious. And then you can also see how they have a dedicated room for Talkbase users, and that is strictly where their clientele are talking about different things. I know for a fact too that they are looking to do more in this area with their users, make this particular area even more vibrant, more input to product. So if you are a member, if you're not yet a member of this, just expect to start seeing more, particularly of this Talkbase users section. And in the general section, there's all you can find everything from conversations around ROI to events to operations to questions about their tool to see how they are opening up opportunities, for people to be featured through Talkbase itself. So yeah, those are just a couple of my highlights. Tim, how about for you?
Yeah, well, you kind of took most of mine. And I'm not a user, so like I'm not interested in the Talkbase user thing, right? And I'm not a consultant, so I don't care about that. Well, one thing I know that they added was like the content circle, right? This was born of the fact that they decided they wanted to have like kind of accountability partners, which I think was again the suggestion of somebody. I don't remember who, but Clara posted it in the original post, but it was like, I think it stemmed from somebody else suggesting it for him. But just basically, she asked, share your social profile so we can follow you, share your content goals. So example, I wish to start writing an article once a month, or I wish to start posting once a week. And then 3, once your work is ready to go out, share the content there so other people can see it, engage with it. But more than anything, it's just for accountability. But it's also like, it's just a great way, I think, because so many people work, siloed or are looking for jobs or are consultants, right? And sometimes you just need, if you're starting something up, you just need that like little extra incentive and push. And sometimes by putting it in this place, and you're kind of like holding yourself accountable for it, right? Like, okay, I just announced it to a bunch of my peers. I better do this, or they're going to look at me and go that I know I don't follow up on what I say I'm going to do. So next time you ask them if they'll hire you, if they'll work with you, if they can recommend you, if you're not doing what you just put in there, they're going to have that top of mind. So I think it's a great area. And I think it was all stem from, them just wanting to help the people that are in this community be more accountable for some of their content that they're putting out there. I've never really seen that done in any other type of community I'm in, where they just kind of facilitated a way to help users help each other be accountable, which I think is kind of cool.
And to your point earlier, Tim, it has nothing to do with their tool either. It's just something they're doing to be there for their community members.
If you're enjoying our community dissection episodes and have a community of your own, then I invite you to download our community audit checklist. This is a quick list of things that you can go through and identify in your community that you have, are missing, or might need to be clarified. So don't wait today to improve your own community. And if you're interested in having your community dissected by me and a couple other community professionals, you can nominate your community through the form in the description. It's very clear that their goal is impact for their members. Like, we are going to make this the best playground for community members, for community people who want to explore community operations, and not just because we only talk about community operations, but because they've invested so heavily in so many different aspects of a community person's journey and the problems that we encounter. It seems like they've really been creative about expanding beyond the norm of what you would see in communities like this. I do want to call out, just like, it's really tiny, but I really appreciate that they have this real estate on the left here. If you're building a Slack community, this is like the space that your members will look to identify quickly, like, what happens here. And so sometimes, like, more world building communities can, I think, really struggle with just that real estate. There's not like as many places for like descriptions and helping get people familiar with the language that you use. So there is some like insider language here. Like, I don't know it. If I didn't know about Prague, I wouldn't know what community rebellion was. But I appreciate that they have the word attendees here, because really immediately you're just like, oh, this was like an event that people went to. And I didn't, so I can kind of like skip through it a little bit. I also really like, this is maybe a new Slack feature, but showing these like optional channels. In the past, you kind of had to dig for optional channels, and now it just shows up, but I'm not automatically in it, but it does show up as an option. And then yeah, I guess you can click browse all channels. That used to be. Okay, great. So they don't have a million options. I love that. Thank you.
I hear you, Bree, because there are some Slack communities I'm in where those rooms, the list goes on the length of the rest of the page there, the length of that real estate, you don't see any direct messages. You just see like room after room after room after room. And I think that's too much. So yeah, kudos to them. I didn't know about the new Slack feature to be able to kind of show an optional channel. I would also guess, I don't know how difficult this is on the back end of Slack, but to make it more personalized for everybody coming in, I wonder if there is a way that they can look and see, oh, okay, Bree Leever, new to our community. She didn't attend Rebellion. She's not a talk-based user right now. So, maybe not having those available just yet, or are those optional channels for you too?
Those were both automatic. The Rebellion attendees,
Okay.
or actually users was optional. I clicked join it.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe just, one small thing that they should look at again to keep in mind that the personalized onboarding journey of everyone coming to it. You're absolutely right. If someone didn't know about Talkbase, they're joining, they probably wouldn't know about Rebellion either and how tied Rebellion is to Talkbase. So that area might be a little confusing. I wonder if they're going to use the same room as they have a virtual version of Rebellion coming up at the end of November. And I wonder if they're going to use the same room and add more people to it, or if they might create another one. But that's just something that, just a little thing that they could focus on for their onboarding efforts. Again, I don't know a ton about the back end of Slack, so I don't know how challenging that is for every single person coming in to make that individual.
Yeah, well, I bet, especially since they are a CRM tool, I wonder if when people, if they're onboarding people to Slack through Talkbase itself, if there's a way to segment those members using Talkbase. Here to learn, Tiffany Oda, if you want to give us a little overview, do a little cameo and post a video, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know if you're on Discord, you can use some third-party applications to actually onboard questions and then direct people to their own channels. And I'm sure there's probably something with Slack that does that too. And maybe Talkbase is able to do that,
Maybe we need to get Tiffany on here for an interview and we can peel back the layers a little bit and understand the brilliance behind all this. We rushed through it pretty quickly, but something that I really want our audience to hear, because a lot of people who watch these videos are either starting from scratch and building a community, or they might be migrating their community and exploring different platforms. And it is one of the most common mistakes that I see in this series is people like obliterating the landscape on the left-hand side with 72 different channels for 72 different topics. And I really love how they've structured and used that space really diligently. It's that same concept we were talking about before. Like, you want to have like high impact value in like smaller contained spaces, 10-minute speeches, 5 channels, like make it feel really full, really impactful, almost until it's like bursting at the seams. Should you consider creating more spaces for different conversation? And even then, I always caution against dictating all of your channels according to topics, but trying to lean more into identities as often as you can. So a Talkbase user is like a different channel than like Talkbase topics or Talkbase help. Like, it tells the person there's a self-identification of, oh, I'm a Talkbase user versus I want to talk about Talkbase. Does that make sense? I want to like make sure that I really hit that home and how they've done it so well here.
Yeah. I always encourage my clients, when you're launching a community, every page you have on that is a destination you are leading people to, even the individual topic pages. And you want to launch with just a few select areas that you want people to go to encourage them to get used to those areas, what it's like to interact in those areas. Over time, it's fine to grow out different areas. And I think the same about Slack communities, even though I mostly work with forum-based or peer-to-peer. Start simple and expand over time, because what doesn't look good is when you start with a lot and then some areas become dead zones, and you have to announce to your community that you're merging certain areas. That's a message that you're sending to people when you have to make an announcement like that, that no one's talking here, so we have to combine areas. Not a good message you want to send to your community, versus a message: there's so much activity, we're growing so much, we are introducing a new room for you to talk about insert topic here. So I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought up that point.
That's so good. Or even worse, like you don't take the step to consolidate, and they just go into the room and they're like, oh my gosh, nobody's talking here. It's a ghost town. And then it like deflates the whole experience.
One other area that I really love is the promote it channel, because usually in most communities you come in and you don't know, like you feel a little bit awkward about like, where am I going to post some content or my own event if it's mine, right? And I love the promote it channel because you know right away, right? Like I don't need to go to general for this. I don't need to go to events for this. It's mine. I put it and promote it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just make it obvious. I love it.
Well, because the other reason for that, and I see this in so many other communities, is, you know, you don't have that promote it channel. And you're either constantly having to monitor people that are promoting, or you don't monitor it. And all the people in the community get tired of seeing constant promotion in there. And I mean, both of you guys are kind of nodding your head, so I know you guys know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure anybody that's listening or watching is knowing exactly what I'm talking about, because you've probably been in the majority of the communities you belong to that happens. So they actually make it so clear here that this is where you go for that.
I love it. And I want to call out one other thing that I love, which is that they expanded introductions to introductions and networking. Introductions is honestly what I found to be like one of the most valuable spaces in most communities. It's like, one, it's the space that's the most commonly, it's the easiest ask, like introduce yourself. So it has the highest rates of activity, but we tend to treat it like this is the thing that you come and do once and then you never revisit it. And I love it by adding that like really subtle shift to add and networking. It reminds me, this isn't just the space where I introduce myself once and like leave. This is a space I can come back to time and time again to meet new people, welcome them into this community, and also make new connections with people who could, you know, have valuable experience for me to learn from. So I like that touch.
That's such an important distinction. And you have to be very careful with the naming of these rooms and these destinations, these areas, because you need to be concise and not use up too much real estate from a text standpoint, right? So yes, that was very smart for them to add that. I have a question for the two of you that doesn't necessarily have to do with the Talk-Based Friends community, but we can use them since it's up on the screen right now. You might have heard of the new feature in Slack communities called Canvas. You can see it up in the top right corner. And if you're not familiar with it yet, it's the ability it's like to have like a knowledge repository or document repository on here. And I haven't seen any Slack communities that I'm in yet starting to take advantage of this. And I was just curious if you all have.
Well, testing it out now. So interesting. So is this like an ongoing, it's just like a kind of like a notes archive that's just for me?
I am not quite sure. It'd be interesting to know if that is something that only you can see, or if that's something the whole community is able to see you doing. I tested this once in a friend's it was a small Slack room, and it was when it was first announced. So I have assumed that they had done more since then. But when I added a canvas and I input some fake notes and things, it didn't alert the room that I did it in that a canvas had been added. And I thought that was kind of a miss on Slack's part, because wouldn't they like to know, when people are adding things to Canvas? Or so maybe it's not meant to be collaborative. Maybe it's meant to be on an individual basis. I don't know enough about it, but it was more just a question. I was wondering if you all had seen anything more about the use of Canvas, because I've kind of been keeping an eye on that in Slack communities. And yet I admit I don't know that much about it.
Yeah. I just posted something in a Canvas somewhere, and I'm terrified that I don't know where I can't find it now. So.
Well, you're in introductions and networking, so maybe you're just networking, right?
Hey, testing out Canvas, networking with everybody. Yeah. But this is interesting because now I clicked on it and it came.
Oh, that was me playing around.
This is you? Wait,
That's what I just did to play around with it on mine.
how did you create this one? Whoa.
I
Okay.
didn't even know that showed up, so I better like get that out of there because I'm sure they don't want that there.
Fascinating.
It's
So,
clearly an
so
example thing, right? Yeah, that
it's
was
like
added.
it's like a
How do you get rid of it
collaborative.
now? I can't get rid of it.
Oh no, I've opened a Pandora's box. I'm sorry, y'all.
We've like,
Sorry, Talk-Based Friends community.
yeah. They come in and we've just totally moved everything in the community. No, because it's okay. Last updated by Tim McDonald. Okay, wait, that's fascinating.
All right, so you can see something that he did. So that's cool. That's something that's new since the last time I played around in Canvas.
Well, because
Okay.
when you were saying all that, I'm like, well, there's a newsletter template. How can that not be seen by other people? That's why I chose that one.
Okay, fast. So it's like it's like a Google Doc, like how to baby with Slack.
I think so. I think it is an area meant for documentation, knowledge repository, maybe a library of things, which I know is a bit of feedback that a lot of my clients have had for Slack in the past. So I saw this revealed, was it earlier this year or maybe a year ago? I forget, but I'm guessing probably about a year ago.
I'm looking at this right now, this sample here, this monthly newsletter that's up on the screen. That is very similar to what I believe it's Clara sends out each week to the, I think it's under maybe announcements, but it is something that, oh, you know where it shows up? It shows up in threads because you're adding a comment.
Oh, wait, threads in where?
So I got it as a thread because you commented on my newsletter thing.
And where did it show up for you? In which channel did it show up for you?
Well, it shows up in threads for me. I don't know which channel it is.
Okay, got it. Up here.
I'm in my thread, so it's under 2-minute presentations, but like Valencia has her update of the 2-minute, minute presentation, right? And then I'm just trying to think where do I see that? Is it in announcements?
Anyways, super new, interesting feature.
It's somewhere that I've seen this format though. I've seen this format be used in the Talk-Based community, just like we're seeing in that template for the email. So
interesting. So there's somehow this is connected to some other area where you're seeing that formatting.
I invite anyone listening or watching this, by the way, if you are seeing this being used or you're using it yourself in the Slack community you run, please comment, let us know. Maybe that community can be part of another dissection, right? Because it would be really interesting to learn more about how different Slack communities are incorporating this.
We actually have a community builder in our community accelerator that we're running right now who uses like collaborative Google Docs to create collaborative resources in their community between members. And then they run it through AI and publish these new resources. So this could be this could be an awesome addition to that. I love this. Thanks for bringing it up, Jenny.
And sorry, Clara and Tiffany, if I screwed something
if we messed anything up there. Yes. Sorry, Talk-Based team.
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, I want to wrap things up. Anything else that you love or would adjust about this community? Or even if we can't see it here, because I know community goes so far beyond the platform that you choose. We dissect usually the platforms for the sake of simplicity in this series, but any other insights about Talk-Based and the community?
I just hope to keep seeing them focus on the unique experiences. I know it is an important focus area for them, an important thing they want to work on in 2024 to keep forming genuine connections and helping their community members form those. And I know they also want to concentrate on hearing from new voices. So the couple of different event series I have heard about being talked about will be announced hopefully soon. Already things being planned for 2024, and I hope to see them, follow through on that and incorporate new voices we haven't heard yet. Because I think there is an interest in our field, our profession right now, to start hearing from newer voices. In fact, I might even be backing away from some things that I'm speaking in because I want to contribute to that and invite newer voices to, speak up and have opportunities. So I'm going to be doing that more when I'm invited to things. I know, Bree, you responded when I put a challenge on LinkedIn and encouraged people who have not really been profiled on podcasts or talk shows or anything to speak up and say something something in that thread. And then thank you for saying that you would, take that to heart, and you were seeing all the different people chiming in on there. And so I appreciate Talkbase also adopting a mindset like that. And let's hope to see it through, and hear from new people in the cool, fun, unique events they're going to be planning into 2024.
Yeah, they have such an amazing platform to do that. And you as well, Jenny, I've always appreciated how inclusive and how much you use your platform to highlight others and to elevate other voices. So thank you for that work. And I'm sure you were part of encouraging Talkbase in that direction. So thank you for that work. Tim, any final comments?
Yeah, I would just say, for as much as I praise them about like not making this another marketing channel for them, that there really isn't any marketing about them in here. And it probably would help a little bit to get a little bit, like, let's say I joined, right? And I didn't know who they were and I wanted to learn more. Yes, you could reach out, but what if I am like more in the lurking mode and don't want to raise my hand and let them know because I don't want to get followed up with calls and everything? Where can I go to find their site? Right.
Tim, if I could ask you then, what are some things they could be doing in here that would be telling you more about their tool, but not in a way that would make you feel like it's being pushy or pressuring you? I mean, do you want to hear about like their customers?
I think like customer success stories would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like what were they able to achieve because of Talkbase? And don't make it it's all because of Talkbase, but here's what the customer was able to do, and here's how they utilize Talkbase to do that.
Yeah, having like the showcase, like generally like showcase or show and tell or show and share or whatever you call it. I tend to love those spaces for brand communities because they tend to be spotlighting customers, and the brand might prompt a customer to share. Maybe they like post about it on LinkedIn and they're like, oh my gosh, would you do like a 3-minute video and post about it in our community so that our members can see how you leveraged our tool in this way? I know Circle just hosted a new like showcase spotlight where they like accepted submissions from their members about how they set up their Circle community. So they could do like doing an activation even can like help bring in a bunch of those examples, and then having a space where you can spotlight it or showcase it. I personally like love those spaces. It doesn't feel spammy. It doesn't feel like heavy marketing. It just feels like giving ideas and showing inspiration to your future or potential customers from your best customers.
Maybe they can use the canvas to post their customers.
I'm sorry, Jenny.
Sorry, Tim.
Bree, jump in and let's all talk at the same time.
Sorry. Tim, I was only saying maybe they can use the canvas to post their customer success stories. But go ahead.
Except you might accidentally delete some.
I was going to say this isn't always good for new customers, but it's also good for existing customers, because I might be using it one way. Bree, you might be using it a different way, and Jenny using it another way. We see, Mary is spotlighted in using it this way. And it's like sparks an idea for all of us in our communities and how we're using it, right? Because we didn't know that existed, even though we're all existing customers.
Yeah, those spaces are so valuable for creating, like essentially becoming a flywheel of content for the rest of your community and outside of your community. So Jenny might share like, this is how I use Talkbase to like make my life easier. And we're like, oh my gosh, Jenny, we need to do like a live Q&A with you because you got 50 million likes and comments asking for more. It's such a phenomenal community. And I think we also found some good things to like add on or tweak a little bit and kind of note. So I feel like this is a great balance of highlighting what I would call a best-in-class brand community, and a lot of things are doing really well here, as well as ways they can grow and iterate and continue to experiment. So thank you for joining me, and hope to have you on another episode soon. If you want to connect with Jenny and Tim, we'll have the link to their LinkedIn in their bio. At this moment in time, Tim is also on the job hunt. So take a look at his LinkedIn profile and you can connect with him there. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.